Hi.
Hi.
Shit.
Hi.
I don't know what's going on. I think I have to move out of
Can,
the chat
can
because I'm roboting and you're roboting as well. So I'll just have to go out
are
and then
you? Can you hear me? Can you hear
yeah.
me, Carnops? It doesn't sound like you can hear
No,
me.
I'm roboting, Claire, and I can barely hear you.
I can hear you
Okay, wait a
fine.
minute. I'll go out and then I'll get it.
All right. We're live though. Well, hi people. Carnops will be with us again, hopefully, very soon. Are you all enjoying your summer? What have you been all up to? I've been listening to Joel Davis on his Telegram stream about ethno-nationalism. Hello again, Collops.
Yeah, I think this is better, isn't it? Is it
Yes,
not?
it's
Yeah.
better. It's a bit clearer, but I could hear you fine before. I didn't hear any roboting.
Oh, yeah, but I could hear you roboting, so I think it's probably by Bluetooth earphones. So that's why.
Mm.
So how have you been doing, Claire? How's
I, I've
life?
been I've been listening to Joel Davis on his Telegram stream about ethno-nationalism. It's um, it's quite interesting, I think, because he's one of the few people actually wanting to clear up these issues, and I've spoken to him before, and well, at least he's making an effort, unlike the others.
I don't know who Joel Davis is. Why don't you
He's
enlighten me?
he's this Australian who well, I would say he specializes in the US foreign policy, but he does ask questions like, what is Western identity and what should it be? And how should we know? And he's, well, he has an anti Semitic angle, and he does talk about National Socialism without much self consciousness. And yeah, he's pretty hardline ethno nationalist. But still quite interesting. Well, one of the more interesting thinkers in nationalism, I would say.
Well, it sounds to me like he's like one of the many people that doesn't want to blame themselves or blame other people. Doesn't sound very intriguing to me.
Well, he is better than the others. I mean, who else is there? There's Daniel Sienkiewicz. I mean, is Patrick Bateman even into talking about solutions?
Well, I think Patrick Bateman has considerably mellowed over over the last months. I actually sometimes I catch the stream, Norvin stream. I don't know if you ever watch Norvin stream.
Yeah. They both Norvin and Bateman appeared on Daniel Sienkiewicz's stream, and they got on quite nicely. I was surprised. Did you hear
Yeah,
that one?
no, I just know I'm not welcome there anymore. I think I'm
Mm.
like all my alts have been banned. I don't know what's happening to Daniel. He's becoming much more sensitive as of late, and you know how sensitive the guy was before. So
I know. I remember his stream, his 7 hour stream. That he had to get it out of his system, and he was terrified of being interrupted because you know how he gets when you interrupt him. He just talks more quickly. So and he's talking to Snorkel Blog. Did you hear any of my streams with him?
no. Who is Snorkel
He is this ethno nationalist that I met through millennial, who is married to a Japanese woman with half Japanese children, but still identifies as white nationalist.
Mm.
Yeah.
Aren't they all these white nationalists? They turn out to be Jews, or they have half white children, or I don't know. What do you think it is? I mean, why do we ever have some?
Everybody's mad. I was just listening to a stream with about by John Gishler. I think you'll really enjoy it. In fact, I will give you the link. Okay, so it's basically the self-hating Chinese Taiwanese woman, and she thinks, and she's suffering from paranoia. And
Yeah, I see that. I saw that. I saw that. That
did
was
you?
yeah. Oh my god! Holy
It's
fuck!
kind of scary. It was
No,
sort of
it was
reminded me a bit of The Exorcist.
terrifying. I mean, then you can know how you can now end up. You know, like I mean, that woman's completely paranoid. She really, I don't know. What was he abducted by kind of like a Mormon cult or something, and then abused, and
Well,
it
that's what
was
she said,
rather
but it was just,
rather
she couldn't get
unclear.
on with a few of these women. So, oh, you didn't actually hear today's one when she was going
No,
into great detail. Okay, I mean, I'll send you that link. I know you're a sadist, so you'll really enjoy that. But
well,
honestly, everybody is mentally ill. I mean, I don't know how I stay sane. I really don't. Talking to you lot, I mean, it's like,
why do you surround yourself with mentally ill people, Claire?
I do ask myself this question. It's like, yeah, I would like to surround myself with high status people who know what they're doing, but all I find everywhere, high and low, are mentally ill people,
But don't you think?
which is very worrying.
Well, yeah, but then you think that it might be a bit easier to find some stable people in real life environments than I don't know
They
these
don't want
micro
to talk about
streams.
politics. They don't want
Yeah,
to
but
talk about.
these micro streams sort of attract like yeah, mentally insane people like shit attracts flies, you know.
Yeah, but if you go to the really big ones, I mean, it's like it's not much fun. The chat is moving too quickly. Nobody knows who anybody is. Nobody's
And that's
even
true.
responding. So there's no fun because part of the experience of YouTube is to post in the chat and be with your mates kind of thing.
But
Straight talking.
what happened to your other channels? Are they now banned or?
Well, actually, I mean, I suppose I could go back on my main channel, which now only has one strike. But I thought I might as well just use the other one until it's completely clear. Maybe I'm making a tactical mistake or something, but I've got two strikes on the secular Quranism one. So I don't know. In a way, I sort of feel safer with only all these very few people, just because I think, well, nobody's going to give me a strike because I'm just here streaming to myself and in my very exclusive circle.
Exclusive group of like the five very eminent watchers.
Loyal, yes, my most loyal subscribers, and that includes you, clearly.
But Claire, even Dr. Mengele has checked out. He hasn't found
No,
your latest channel.
he's still doing it. He's doing the old thing.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I mean, all the usual characters are still here, so I don't notice any difference. Just sort of fewer strikes. Nobody cares what I say. It doesn't matter. And
I saw you because I was a bit under the weather. I had corona again, and I was seeing you in a chat somewhere, like a bigger streamer, but I forgot who it was. Somewhere, and I made a remark to you. I don't know, maybe because you follow all these streamers and I don't. Maybe you don't remember who it was anymore. But was it Sargon? Yeah, it was Sargon and the
distributors.
The distributors. Yes,
that's
it.
The one.
Yeah. So I mean that conversation was right up your alley, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, again, it's like, you're still not getting it. I mean, it's just so stupid. It's like, it's really nostalgia when they start talking about their favorite movies. It's like, I don't want to hear your favorite movies and you complaining they don't make them like that, now. And all, the music, and there's nothing to listen to and crap like that. And the relatively young men, but they're talking like pensioners or something.
Yeah, they seemed like 65. Um, it was all doom and gloom, black pilled, I would say.
Yeah, I remember Richard Spencer saying something along the lines of, you these people who want these Americans who want Putin to nuke them, and I thought it was a slight exaggeration, I'm getting the distinct impression that more and more Americans want Putin to nuke them so they can just end their lives because they can't bear it anymore.
Well, I think that's the case for the dissident right. I don't think it's the case for everybody. I think in the dissident right, there is this.
But they can't face the future of secular coronas, and they would rather die,
Well,
literally, because it's
I
the
have to
only
say, I
solution.
would rather off myself as well, Claire. But I, I think for a lot of people, they have just, I don't know, that they have to, they have grown to hate their society so much that, uh, although they claim to be in favor of it, actually every time they can choose between their society and some kind of foreign power that is meddling with their interest, they choose the foreign power, because at least what it's doing is sort of undermining and destroying the current society that they're living, that they don't like.
Yes, I can imagine. Yeah, one of the things that Joel Davis was saying that, preferably we wouldn't like to be run by foreigners. But the thing about European history is that quite a lot of them had foreign kings. I mean, George III was German. All these kings is like they're not even from the same king.
No,
Same
they
stock as
never were.
they
Yeah,
rule, which must have driven them crazy. And I
yeah.
guess
Well, I mean, but this is, I think most of the time it's just a misconception of what the national state used to be before the advent of nationalism. I mean, they think that nationalism was some kind of primordial idea, but it was not. And nationalism, in its modern form, only came about in the late 19th century.
Well, yeah. I mean, one of the things I want to do is to define nationalism, and nobody's interested in defining the meaning of words. And I think it's crucial to know what we're talking about. And actually, Jen was quite right in saying, if you can't agree your axioms, there's no point having the debate because you'll be talking at cross purposes
Well, it's not
about,
about your axioms, it's at least about your definitions.
Well, yeah, that's actually I was using definitions and axioms in an interchangeable way, because the meaning of the word that you're discussing has to be perceived, has to be agreed. I
Oh yeah,
mean,
I definitely agree with that. I would say, like, we would probably have a very different definition of nationalism. You would say nationalism is what government in the national interest, and
yes,
I would
but
disagree with that.
and you would say, what is nationalism then?
Well, if you, well, let me critique your definition first. If you say nationalism is government in the national interest, you could think that it would be preferential for your nation state to be subsumed into an empire, for example, and then you still fit. You could, on your definition, you could still claim to be a nationalist. I would say no. Nationalism is,
The
is
idea of national independence,
well,
national.
yes, but it's also something that it has to do with national solidarity and that you're a people together, and uh, that is the most important thing. That you feel solidarity with your people and that you think that people should be sovereign.
But the EU was what came to my mind when Joel Davis was saying, we all don't want to be run by foreigners, and I was thinking, oh well, a lot of the British seem to want to be run by foreigners in Brussels, and so it appears that does the rest of Europe. They want to be run, by some unaccountable extra national body. So that's not even necessarily true. And perhaps it is true that most people will say, we don't care who runs us as long as taxes are low and that there is law and order.
Well, I
If
think
you,
that's
if,
the case for a lot of people, but I do
yeah,
think that like nationalism is really important, because if you don't have that sort of solidarity, this in-group solidarity, it's just that much more difficult to bring up the will to pay taxes, to bring up the will to support public institutions, to agree with the court decision. It's just that
mm,
much more difficult. And if you don't
yes.
feel that the person that is judging you or ruling over you represents you, you have a serious problem.
Yeah, but because the whole project of government is run on confidence, and obviously, if everything's running smoothly, people will believe what the government says and will trust the government to run everything properly. But when people just go, oh, because the government says X, I'm going, my behavior will be minus X. Because I hate them and want to show my hatred, or because I think they're out to harm me, and whatever they tell me to do, I must do the opposite, which is kind of where we are now,
Yeah, well,
which is
feels like
bad.
it
I
was.
mean, and when you think of banking and the economy, I mean, a lot of things are just run on trust, and if they have any more crises of confidence, and but then I don't know. I mean, the worst case scenario is that we are left with barter, because the people just lose confidence in the currency. And I recently read that that was what happened after the fall of Rome, because the thing about empire is that you have great communications and transport and everything works well, but when it collapses, all of that goes. So one of the things that went with the collapse of the Roman Empire is theatre and what's the other thing? Um, yeah, theatre and something else. Oh yes, the currency, because they started debasing their coinage, and of course inflation and stuff. So people just had to go back to bartering.
Hmm.
So it was a really really terrible retrograde step, and yeah, and obviously America is going crazy with I don't know, Kamala Harris and her pronouns.
I haven't heard about Kamala Harris and her pronouns. What's the story behind
Uh,
that?
well, apparently she started using them, and that obviously pissed off a lot of people. There's something on Twitter about that. I didn't hear it myself, but it just the fact that you use pronouns in your profile is triggering to people who don't agree with it, right?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't give a shit. I just think it's a bit, I don't know, just a bit
Well, I
cringy.
mean, yes.
Also think it's narcissistic and self-absorbed. Like if you always if you're always preoccupied with your identity and how you're being perceived, and I don't know, you don't want to be defined by what you do, but I don't know who you are, which is quite easy. It's like, oh yeah, I'm this and that. I'm just self-defined, instead of letting your work speak for you. I think it's just from the age of narcissism that we live in today.
Well, I think
Um,
in a way, narcissism is a natural development of atheism, because people say, "Oh, there's so many more sociopaths around," now, because the I think the psychologists they say they don't really quite know why, but I think it's the absence of religion. So people just worship their own opinions.
Well, I don't think so. I just think that uh, in this individualistic age, it's just easier to be very self-absorbed without somebody correcting you. I think it has a lot to do with technology. I don't think it's necessarily something to do with lack of faith. I think the faith thing is overrated because most of the time, you see this also with the complete destruction of the dissident right. I don't know if you saw Lauren Southern's documentary. Have you seen it?
Yes, I did.
It was fascinating, I have to say.
It didn't surprise me at all that Milo was a crazy, paranoid, blackmailing cunt.
Well, it didn't surprise me too, but I have to say this is a critique that I have been
Or that Israel Levant, tried it on with her. I paid for the hotel room and the bed, so might as well have sex with me, kind of thing.
Well, that doesn't surprise me either. And also her naivete, because I remember watching this shit and I was like, come on, this can't be the whole story. And by the way, what I find is fascinating is the things that she didn't tell. So she said at some point, like, no, I'm no saint. I don't know what kind of parties have been going on there, but she said the first time she had cocaine was in right-wing circles, which I think is fascinating. So I don't know what kind of parties went on there. And then she was probably talking and throwing videos out with how women should be stay-at-home moms and get a baby really quickly. And then I don't know what she was doing in her personal life, but I'm sure she was not behaving like a saint. But all her pay piggies thought she was, and then they were just like paying and I don't know, giving all their money to her. And I think that is just a very sad state of affairs. And yeah, I warned about this shit years ago, and nobody really sort of seemed to care. I mean, everybody's sort of a hypocrite here, and I think people in the right wing, they are degenerates, but they're just degenerates in denial. Why not embrace who you are?
I mean, what are they? What cokeheads, potheads, whatever?
Yeah, cokeheads, potheads, man whores and sluts. That's basically what they are as well.
Well, it just means that we don't get nothing done.
Although people on the left are not in denial about this stuff.
Well, I guess if you want to start a revolution, it's not going to help that you're a pothead and a cokehead.
But the thing is, and I think this is what Lauren Southern actually told rather eloquently. If there's a rot in the people around you, it's going to be exposed one way or another. And it's going to show, like you can't have a group pretending they're holier than thou, and in the meantime they're doing coke and having sex and stuff like this. And this is going to come out sooner rather than later, So if you're trying to behave like a saint or have an image of a saint, yeah, it's gonna come back like a fucking boomerang, and people are gonna find out.
But we already have a drug culture and a drink culture, outside these circles. I mean, there already exists the drug culture. So I don't. I mean, it shouldn't be that surprising that the right would also be part of it. So I guess, maybe the Muslims will get things done, right? Since they're not supposed to be, indulging in these things.
Yeah, well, they're in denial about it, and they try to show everybody the way how to get out of this sort of degenerate world, but they seem to fall victim to it even much quicker than I would say normal people that I know.
Have you come across the EA Dawa channel?
No, I haven't.
Well, you might like it because they usually, it has nightly 7, 8, sometimes 12-hour streams. So they basically run it like a radio. It's like, OV every night kind of thing, but with a Muslim
Holy
angle.
shit! Yeah,
And I quite like the ethos, and I mean, it
so
has
it's like
international.
it is OV without the alcohol and the methamphetamine.
Yes. Yes, and occasionally they just shut up, stop talking about the Muslim stuff and tell off the moderators for their behavior, hiding people without just cause, and that I find very reassuring. So you might enjoy appearing there.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I
might. So
tried to catch.
is it? So it's a Muslim channel. Am I
Well,
correct
it's
about
actually
that?
run by somebody called Justin Downing, who is now called Khalil, and he runs it with somebody called Issa Dawa, who's just had a baby and whose wife is English. And I think you might enjoy some of the discussions, historical, constitutional.
Might
They're
might
not,
be interesting. Might be
yeah,
interesting. I don't know if you still follow Zubida Al Arabia.
not really. I mean, I'm stopped subscribed to her. But what? Anything happening with her?
No, but I just found it just as fascinating. So it's like she's a single lady with a baby somewhere, and yet she's talking about how we have to follow the Quran and the Hadith and shit like this. I mean, it's rather shocking how people can go along with this kind of hypocrisy for some time, but then at some point people will be found out, and people will not accept somebody telling you how to behave if you don't have how would you say, your life under control yourself.
Well, if Sharia were adopted, then we would all be subject to it. So all the stuff that you might be doing, maybe
Yeah, but it's a bit easy,
pot,
Claire. But
snorting
it's a bit, yeah, but it's easy to say, for example, you have to behave, but it's rather difficult for yourself to say, okay, I'll set these moral standards for me and everybody else, and I'll adhere to them. And you see that with Zubida as well. I mean, do you know any woman? I don't know. Do you know any woman that has a child and then she doesn't even have custody over it? Where is her child? Where is it?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's being adopted or whatever.
Yeah,
But
but I mean but that is pretty crazy, right? So you're a woman, like how the court system and works nowadays, and I'm not even a men's right activist, but I would say if you have joint custody, yeah, you can do a 50-50, but if the judge allocates the children to one parent, I would say 80%, the 80% chance it's the woman. And if you feel at that, I think you've done something horribly wrong. I mean, you must have done something in the eyes of the court that is probably terrible. Otherwise, I mean, the child will be with a woman, right?
yeah, I mean, well, I don't know the ins and outs of her life, but I suppose if you're Muslim and you think, well, look at me, I'm a single mom. If I hadn't, if Sharia were in place, then I wouldn't have done all those terrible things and would have, that kind of,
Yeah,
that would
but
be a valid
but that's not the
reason.
issue. It's like the moment I bring it up, it's not like, oh, it was terrible and Sharia could have prevented me from sinning and stuff like this. That's not what she says. She's not even taking responsibility over her own life at all. She's just telling other people how they should live.
Well, everybody does. Everybody does, don't they? Even though I'm sure even criminals tell each other how to live.
I
I
don't
mean,
know. I don't. No, I don't. I think it's like sort of particular to his kind of sphere. Like what I like about the Lauren Southern documentary is that she actually took some responsibility for her own actions, and she actually was rather introspective of how she behaved, what kind of world she lived in, and what she could have done earlier to sort of prevent this kind of shit show. And
Well, she found a husband and lives in Australia now, right? Is that the situation?
Yeah, definitely. Well, now she's doing the right thing, right? Like, but now she's not very sort of viable for the pay piggies here that just like to fantasize about this single woman who is trad, which is actually a very strange thing to have, right? I mean, like either you're trad and you're not available and you're getting babies, or you're not trad at all and you're having fun. I mean, is there a sort of a trad woman that can appeal to men and isn't hypocritical? I mean, does it even exist?
Probably not. I mean, because I guess, with gender relations the way it is, you can't really be a virgin until your wedding night, right? I mean, you won't get a look in at all. You have to put out at some stage as a woman. So, otherwise you're just not going to get married, because men expect to try before they buy, don't they, these days?
Yeah. Well,
unless you're come from
I'm not in these spheres
like US or something.
Yeah, but I'm not in these spheres, so I don't have these expectations of women that they have to be untouched or whatever. I mean, I don't know. It's not my kind of thing. That I don't know. I'll have to have sex with somebody who doesn't like it and who's bleeding. God, the thought already is it just revolts me.
You don't like the idea of deflowering a virgin?
No, just it seems rather awkward to me.
You've never even had sex with a virgin?
Well, I think I haven't. I might have, but I think I haven't.
He said vaguely.
Yeah, I think I might. Yeah, I might have. Who knows? But
Right.
of course, I mean, even for you, I mean, secular Quranism. Could you adhere to the principles you set to others?
I set it conveniently low. I didn't say anyone who has extramarital sex is going to get lashed. It's like, if you can't manage to use effective contraception or get yourself an abortion and you have a bastard outside wedlock, then you'll get punished. But
but you
said
said conveniently low. That's so that you are not punished.
Yeah, but it's not just for me. It's for everybody as well. I mean, it'll just be crazy if I say, any little thing will just get you done for being alone with somebody.
But what I think more and more is that people in this sphere have an ideology that is some kind of revenge fantasy against the world. Like, I mean, they feel sort of done by the world, and then they think of a sort of a way to sublimate all their sexual and life frustrations. I just think it's a terribly unhealthy thing to do, Claire.
Well, women do get very upset if when they realize, oh, I'm not going to get married after all. It's all gone horribly wrong, and something flips in their minds and they go mad. I saw a streetcar named
but Claire, I mean, like, take a couple of people in our spheres, right? So we have Vincent Bruno.
Vincent's now a supporter of secular Quranism. I'll be talking to him tomorrow.
Okay,
I mean, he was saying, well, we should do something about it, and I want you to do your homework, and blah blah blah. He's being very businesslike.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll find out more tomorrow.
That is fascinating. Well, if I look at the ideology that Vincent has, it is a revenge.
It is the antithesis of secular Quranism.
It is a revenge fantasy, isn't it?
Well, no, I think it's sort of, he wants to have babies, but he can't bear the thought of having sex with a woman, and he's just trying to think of all kinds of other ways that he can do it, other than to marry them.
There are two components to his ideology.
I kind of understand.
One is the making feasible what is very difficult, So what is not really present in the current state of affairs. And the other thing is this resentment for his childhood, because he was sort of kept in a cage, he would say. So all his sexual urges were not met, and now he wants to create a world where that is all possible, even to going to extremes like promoting incest.
Yes, but I mean, to be fair to him, he's sort of careful to say that is, you don't have to actually have sex with each other. You can, carefully select your, I don't know, phenotype or whatever it is that once you decide that there will be no birth defects, and you want families to breed each other, then you can go ahead and you don't even need to have sex with each other. And I thought, well, it sounds a bit high maintenance,
No, but also his anti-Semitism derives from a source of like resentment with his youth, with the way he's being restrained, and yeah, it just all seems like a sort of a projection of what they couldn't do when they were a child or something like this. It's just I don't know. It sounds a bit sad to me. And
Yeah.
I would say that I think people should have more introspection and think about, why am I promoting this? Is this actually for the good of the world, or are there some things I have to iron out from my youth or from my past or something like this?
Yes, I mean, the thing I would quarrel with Vincent is like, he keeps talking about eugenics. It's like, no, but Vincent, don't you understand that what you're proposing is the opposite of eugenic? It's actually dysgenic, because marriage is in fact eugenic, which is why once upon a time, everybody thought, well, that's the obvious way to produce the next generation. It's like you make it really hard to well, I mean, women know that it's far easier to get a man to have sex with them than it is to get them to marry them.
No, but I think he thinks that all heterosexual intercourse is yucky, It's like, and I think that's his resentment. I think his resentment is that heterosexual males are not going for him, but are going for some kind of bimbo, and that is his resentment, and I think that's what he wants to stop.
Well,
So
he
what was
actually says that a lot of married men he has had sex with a lot of married men. So, I mean, that's quite interesting.
I don't know if it's very interesting. I had to read this book. I was studying, and I don't know what it was like, what the title was anymore, but it was some kind of portrait of homosexuality in the 1940s, and it's about what people who lived a bit on the margins of society, what they would do to make a living, and there were all these sort of occasional homosexuals, so they would do it on occasion, sometimes to get money, but when they had money enough, they would marry somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they would marry a woman, actually. So I think there are lots of people like that out there, and I think nowadays we get really confused, because when we see all the rise of LGBT, I think it's just a different way of people defining themselves. So back in the day, when people did homosexual acts, they wouldn't consider themselves as homosexual. They just thought they did something that was a bit gay, So I think also the alarmism about this is displaced, But I also think that for Vincent, there might be some heterosexual men that occasionally, I don't know, would do something like that with him, but that's not a committed relationship. And if I see his committed relationship, I don't know, it doesn't seem very equal. I don't know what his partner does, but it's I don't know.
He's in a committed relationship, to be fair to him.
No, he's not in a committed relationship.
They really are like a couple. It's quite sweet, really. When he comes back from work and they chat to each other.
I think his boyfriend is pretty much his nanny, and he's behaving like a child, trying to do everything that he used to not be able to do when he was younger because of the sort of moral constraints that his environment put on him. I don't think it's a sign of adulthood if you have a relationship that is not equal. There's some streamers. I don't know if you know Destiny.
Yes.
Yeah, so Destiny has an open relationship, but at least it's like two-way. Like if she wants to do something, she does it, and if he wants to do something, he does it.
It's a guy, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a guy, but he has this girlfriend, and they're in an open relationship. And by the way, I don't know if you ever saw that terrible, the terrible way he met his girlfriend, and it's still on YouTube, and it's just the most sad thing to see. So she is a Swedish girl, and she was dating this Swedish guy, and the Swedish guy actually wanted to be in a monogamous relationship, and then she wanted to be in an open relationship. So like they chose that she could do what she wanted, and he would sometimes stay on the couch. So there's a whole video saga of Destiny meeting this couple, and then he basically stole her away from him, and you see him sleeping on the couch, and then you hear like in the bedroom you hear some moaning sounds, and like it's the most tragic thing I've ever seen, and just so completely unequal and unfair, So these people who have an open relationship, like, yeah, if you could do it and if you're equal, go for it, but most of the time one person likes it more than the other, and there's a lot of jealousy and resentment there. So I don't know. I think most people shouldn't do it.
Well, yes, because it just messes their minds up, really. But some people want to try. And, I think his arrangements would actually cause a lot of domestic violence and a lot of poisoning, when all these sort of ménage à trois or whatever it is, go wrong, and then the children.
I see that with Vince as well. I don't know what his boyfriend gets up to, but I think probably Vince is rather selfishly thinking about his own sort of fun, and he's not thinking about what his boyfriend might think sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that's unfair.
But okay, he's not. He says he's no spring chicken. I think he says he's 33 or something.
Yeah, but clearly Vince is younger, and Vince. Did you see the stream with Vince and OV?
Before it was taken down. Yeah, I wish I'd watched all of it. I watched
one of the most hilarious streams I've seen in a long time, I have to say. So there's this moment that
that OV was being rude about.
Like OV asks him, like, "Would you fuck me?"
And he said yes.
He said, yeah, you're sort of passable, like yes for a night. Holy fuck!
Well, it didn't surprise me at all, because I guess if I think a gay man would,
Yeah, but look.
Just to shut him up, just to shut OV up, you might give him one, just to, I don't know.
A rage fuck, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I was thinking, I remember like a friend of mine, actually a friend of mine from London. He once had an encounter with Milo Yiannopoulos.
Oh.
And then he's like, no, I am not gonna do this. I'm just like that. That's just really beneath me, So yeah, he's a gay buddy of mine, also a black gay buddy of mine. And he just thought, this is way below me. And at some point, you have to have some standards. Yeah, like you can't be like a sexual pig. You can't just like fuck everything that's available to you. It just makes it a bit disgusting,
So did this guy have sex with Milo or not?
No. He rejected him. He's like, no, not gonna do this. This is beneath my standards. And I have to say, still to this day, this friend of mine is, is very happy that that it never happened. Particularly
The
what
man who
happened
said
later.
no to Milo.
Well, yeah,
Hmm.
because Milo turned out to be raging, crazy racist with very absurd ideas. And man, the man is really fallen from grace, even in the dissident rights. I mean, you've heard all the Lawrence Southern stuff, but I mean, I don't know if you see have you seen his last videos, but the last time I saw him, he was selling Mary statues for a lot of money on this kind of obscure Christian channel to make money. It was
This was what
really
Milo was
pathetic.
doing? I thought he'd become a no-hide or something.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't kept up with Milo's latest things.
Yeah.
Like I know he grew this sort of like how do you call this in English when you have like a normal haircut, but then at the back you just leave like this. I don't know, like
Tail.
yeah. I mean, it was awful. It looked like some kind of trailer park figure,
Trailer trash, yes.
Trailer trash.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. God, no, that guy really has fallen from grace. And turns out something actually I did suspect that this Alan Bukhari guy just basically wrote everything for him. He was the brains behind the situation. Like every time you thought Milo was making an interesting comment, it's probably Alan that wrote it for him.
Oh, sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, this guy Alan Bukhari,
Uh-huh.
who was the writer for Milo Yiannopoulos.
Uh-huh.
So I think most of the times, like when you saw something interesting coming out of the mouth of Milo Yiannopoulos, it was probably not his own words.
Not his own words. Yeah, because I think I once asked him something about something I thought he said, and I didn't get a response. And then, it just seemed really incoherent. So, yeah, I mean, it's sad, but I mean, just such low standards. I mean, it's not just within the dissident right. It's like, well, nobody can talk about anything at all, in my view. I mean, I don't know if you feel.
Claire, come on.
Okay, I mean, who is talking about anything important? I don't know. Do you?
You had the conversation with my friend about what was it again?
What's it again?
Yeah, no. Yeah, about the Ukraine war. Like I mean, there are plenty of interesting people that you can have great conversations with, also in real life. I mean, this internet place, has become very stale, and actually, nobody wants to talk to anybody anymore. I can't talk to Daniel because Daniel blocked me. Brumblefly doesn't want to talk to me. Who else doesn't want to talk to me? Patrick Bateman doesn't want to talk to me. I don't want to talk to LV, but it's a whole other story. Yeah, basically,
Well,
you don't want
I'm
to talk
glad
to Jay.
we're still talking.
Well, we're still talking, absolutely. Yes, but you don't want to talk to Jay.
Because he says the same thing.
But
Okay.
I mean, are we not saying the same fucking
It's so
things there?
retrograde. I mean, it's like talking to somebody who will never change.
But that's not
It's like
the
an
point.
automaton.
But that's not the point. I don't want to get into specifics. That's not the point. The point is that people are really secluding themselves and they don't want to reach out anymore. They don't want to convince anybody anymore. They're so drained by the last couple of years trying to convince somebody anymore, and everything now gets them just upset and triggered. I know Daniel was triggered and upset before, but the moment I say something, I don't know, disparaging about his DNA nation, oh wow, okay, I'm banned, And
I can't even ask him a question without him going crazy.
Well, the new guys as well. I mean, like Sam
Samuels.
Sam
Yes.
Samuels.
Well, we know.
He's a sensitive man, I have to say.
Yes, and he doesn't have a plan B.
And then we had Pilu, who was also a very sensitive man.
Yes.
He had his requirements, and the moment that I think actually he sort of broke up his friendship with Tehran because there was like something. Tehran said something mildly critical, and I really like Pelou and also really like Tehran, but that was just so unnecessary. I think people are just really fucking sensitive these days.
I think most people are mentally ill. I mean, that is just the truth of the matter. And the West is an open asylum, and I live in it.
Maybe. I mean, there's a lot. I don't know if it's just mental illness or everybody is just narcissistic, and people are thinking, everything should revolve around me, and I shouldn't be hurt. But also, I mean, the way you can get away with it in current day culture is also crazy. But like when you not be able to give a correct response and you get really upset, then somebody would tell you off. They will say, you're a sensitive little bitch and you maybe should be able to handle some criticism. But now it's just sort of okay to shun people without losing face.
Yeah, because we're just turned into a civilization of hysterical women. I mean, that's what it is. And the men are behaving like hysterical women.
Well, actually, I'm turning more to that view, but I would say, particularly on your side of the aisle, I have to say it's more sensitive than anywhere else. I would say, except for my really far leftist friends. So I was at the dinner, like the guy you actually spoke to, and he has a girlfriend, and we talked about the whole Amber Heard Johnny Depp situation, right? So we were at a dinner table talking about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, and at some point we had to stop the conversation because if that conversation continued, it would have been bad news for the relationship.
But between whom?
Oh, so my friend and his girlfriend. Yeah, because she was Team Amber Heard, he was Team Johnny Depp, and that was a really big divide. It was not just the problem that it was a big divide, but the fact that you couldn't actually talk about it anymore in any sort of neutral, factual way. It became hyper emotional and hysterical immediately. And I think that's a problem. And I think that is true. That is a female characteristic.
Yeah, it's like because you think X, you must be evil, and that there's just no, talking around that. If you hold a certain view, then you must be evil and you are to be shunned, and blah blah blah.
But it's also with the you're arguing with your fingers in your ear, trying to block the other person from, or just for their thoughts to actually trigger you emotionally. So it's just like they're just busy with what they want to think, how they feel about themselves, and if they're happy about that, then they don't want to hear anything else.
Yeah. And when you think men are behaving like that, men who are political activists who actually won't talk to other people who are supposed to be on their side. I mean, that is the most extraordinary phenomenon. That men who are supposed to be on the same side can't even talk to each other now. Who want to follow?
But I mean, the dissident right has always been like the collection of the most crazily sensitive little bitches I've ever encountered in my life.
Yeah,
I never met people that were so vulnerable, so weak, and so bloody fucking sensitive.
Yes, John Tyndale, who died quite a few decades ago, said the same thing when he wrote his book, The 11th Hour. He was the first leader of the BNP, so that's going back quite a way. But then he was talking about the working classes. And I suppose that the whole point of having any breeding and going to a good school is to kind of learn the ethos of, behaving honorably and, not transgressing the boundaries about in speech about, whoever. So I guess the elite, the aristocracy, have to have much higher standards than plebs, or they'd never get anything done either. Then they'd be fighting each other, and then there would be revolution, and they'd all be, hanged from lampposts or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, you see how the plebs shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, that whole Lawrence Southern documentary just is one story of blackmail, pettiness, um, also trying to save face and doing just terrible things. Also, I mean, I thought the whole shit about Tommy Robinson was quite revealing as well.
Revealing of what?
Well, revealing of the grift. The grift and people who actually are only thinking about their income, their social stability, what they get, their social status as well. They are maybe somewhat invested in the cause, but that's really not the most important thing. And I see that with a lot of people in the far right. For them, it is really good to have some kind of fear porn, to scare people, to scare the shit out of people. Then they donate, and then they can make the next video, and they have a bigger bank account. And actually, any tangible solution, any sort of serious conversation will make sure that they don't exist anymore. So that actually is self-defeating,
I would have. Well, I used to think, well, why don't they have me? I'd be quite entertaining, but it's like, no, you can't have her because they collectively agreed not to have me on, and therefore I don't exist.
Yeah. Well, did you remember that they had this episode in the Lawrence Southern documentary where they didn't want to let Ali Dawa speak after first promising him he would speak?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think because of this, the Muslims will win. Not that they don't have, massive infighting amongst themselves, but their infighting is, at least they have some rules that they can refer to.
I don't know. Like I saw some of the British sort of Dawa scene, and actually that doesn't really very pretty either. They are also really after each other. It's like the purity thing. Might also have to do with the fact that they're an internet movement. And the internet movements have their limitations because you can't really filter out the crazies.
Well, I think that the ones that quite a few of them produce their content going to Speaker's Corner and arguing with people there. So if you cover two bases, you will kind of get yourself known as a Muslim speaker, which is kind of what Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa do. They take turns, and alternate on different Sundays. So you're bound to see one of them.
Yeah, but the only person at Speaker's Corner that I think is actually quite well put together is Joseph from Israel Advocacy. He seems like a very sort of
Joseph Cohen. Yeah, I've seen him a few times.
Yeah, he seems like a very sort of stand-up normal
But he
guy.
does go around provoking the Muslims, though. but that's
not really. I mean, a little bit, but not in a way that is crazy. Like he stands by what he says. I think it's really reasonable. Yeah, and I found this the most because I know like most people here in these spheres like are either crazy white nationalists or they're sort of crazy Islamic, and I think the Jews on the right, most of them seem to be sort of semi well put together, except when I don't know if you saw that stream with it was on House of Commons, Ralph, and then I think it was Mike, anti alt-right Mike or Base Stakes. He invited this guy, and he was Kahanist. That guy was completely nuts and dangerous, like he was speaking like a terrorist, But I think most of the people we met, like Joseph or Aaron, they seemed like normal. Although Sam is not very normal, right? Sam really likes to talk, but I think Sam does also need to learn how to listen.
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, you're certainly right that we are a collection of people with issues.
True, and I think this is what Lawrence Southern said as well. I think are people who are attracted by radical politics often have some kind of gap in their life, or they're trying to fix something about themselves, or they're wondering what's wrong with them. And instead of asking really that question, they're going to ask, what's wrong with the world? You know? And so maybe disproportionately it attracts misfits, people who
Well, I mean,
are narcissistic, people who are crazy.
I think it's a bit like people who want to change their sex. I mean, I have often wondered, why you get so many people who want to do that, and I think the reasoning must be this: that if they do this radical thing, then their lives will be changed. They hope for the better, but well,
Oh
more
yeah,
often than not, it will be for the worse.
yeah. I think
But
it's
it's this
virtual
idea of doing
parallels.
something radical. That's why you get all these crazies who convert to one religion after another in the hope of finding God and all that sort of
Are
thing.
you by any chance talking about John Gisela?
Well, he's a nice guy, you know.
But come on, you have to admit that he has been trying every religion under the sky.
Well, I think he's got the right one now.
Yeah, because now it's Islam. But the same applies to John Vance. He's been trying and trying, and then he was a Muslim, and the next day he's not really a Muslim anymore. And it's just people are trying to
Well,
fix their life.
I
Maybe
think
they
I know.
should see a psychologist, and then
Well, yes.
go over first their personal problems before they're starting to externalize all their personal issues.
These people are looking for a group to attach themselves to. I think
And
that's it. I mean,
that always made me different from all you lot. I never wanted to make friends here. I never wanted to have a
you're
group
just a
that I
bully,
belong to.
and you like mocking the afflicted because
Oh,
really
that's
you
not true.
consider
Because
yourself to be part of the establishment.
if you're really afflicted, I can be very kind. But if you, I don't know, if you're some kind of misfit that says that the world needs to be fixed, and that that everybody has to adopt your kind of views, yeah, then I'm gonna say something against that. Yeah.
Well, that's what politics is about. It's about changing the laws,
But
That's what
maybe
it
you should
is.
change yourself first. I think Jordan
Well,
Peterson is right
changing
about
myself
this.
into what? A frog?
No, changing yourself into a person that's much more sociable, that doesn't stream all
I
the
am
time.
sociable. I haven't streamed all that much. I've been
Honey,
away.
honey, like if I look at all your hours of streaming, you could invest in throwing a nice party. Go see Elizabeth a bit more. I don't know.
Elizabeth. Who? Liz Young.
Elizabeth, the karaoke girl.
Huh.
Is she not called Liz? Liz?
Yes. She's usually busy going to the gym and making curtains. I do see people. I have been out and about. I have been
How
quite
many people
social.
do you speak? How many people do you speak a week?
10, I'd say.
10. Okay, I mean it's not too bad. It's not great, I have to say, because I think I speak probably
Well,
50, 60 people, maybe
you
more.
probably teach, right? You probably teach.
No, I don't teach. No, I don't teach.
Okay,
No,
I mean,
not 60, like but friends, like people I know well and I like,
uh-huh. Well, I
but
mean,
probably like 50 or 60.
do you think I sound like some sort of isolated,
Well, I think you're isolating yourself, and I think people who stream generally are isolating themselves. And for me, it's always been how would you say, also a bit of an outlet for my more sort of sociopathic characteristics that, of course, I can't. I can't really. Use in real life, of course.
I know it's a way, it's a means of self-expression when you express your darkest
Oh,
thoughts.
it's great. I have to say, when I used to have all the wig knots, and like I could be mean. I can never be mean in my real life, because nobody deserves it. Like my environment, people are very nice. So like, why would I ever be nasty to them? But then I think like, oh my God, I do miss it sometimes being nasty.
Well, I have I guess I get it out of my system. Maybe it's a bit like going to the loo or something. You leave your droppings all over the net.
So you shit your ideas of secular
Yeah,
Quranism.
yeah. And other stuff, just
And
just
other stuff.
giving people bits of my mind about what they should do to fix themselves. Entire civilizations.
Entire civilizations. So why don't you write a book, Claire?
Oh, I don't have time with all my. No, actually, I do write. I mean, my blogs are a resource for nationalists, aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah, and well, now they're kind of a record of the timestamps of my streams.
Can we get Elliot on? Is Elliot there?
Does he want to come on?
I don't
Alrighty.
know if he wants to get on, and maybe
He wants to ask about the farmers, the Dutch farmers.
yeah, Jay Walker. Yeah, maybe you can get Jay on. I'm actually interested to talk about the Dutch farmers because it is really interesting. Because I would say Dutch politics is on a knife edge at the moment. Because the farmers are really upset, and I would say rightly so.
Because they're being told to.
Well, because they're being told that they have to reduce the amount of livestock that they have to such a degree that they can't really make a living anymore.
And the reason for this is?
Nitrogen in the soil.
Which is nothing at all.
Yeah, because there's been a court decision that we have too much nitrogen in the soil, which jeopardizes some sort of natural parks that we have. Although, I mean, how many natural parks do we really have in the Netherlands? I mean, it's all cultural landscape anyway. But the thing here is that there is an elite that, really sort of enjoys thinking about nature and global warming and all these things, and it's really their pet horse. But they just really don't see, and they really don't feel what their decisions, how they impact the life of very sort of everyday people. So like a cow more or less could mean the difference between getting by or not getting by, And I think it's just tone deaf, bubble thinking. People are just living in their bubble, and that's why it's going so wrong, and the farmers are really upset. And of course, this farmer protest is not unique to the Western world. So yes, now it happens to our farmers, but before that, it happened to the yellow vests in France, and then you had the Canadian truckers. So this is a movement of discontent of the, I would say, like normal middle class people against the elite, the tone deaf elite that is making decisions for them that are not good for them, but just come out of the worldview of people who, well, don't have much to win or to lose.
And I think that there's a suspicion that they're doing it on purpose in order to cause a a food shortage? Because I think a lot of people suspect that their ruling classes have only malign intentions towards them.
But I think people are too cynical sometimes. It's not about something immediate. I don't think the elite is so stupid that they want to. I mean, they want to create a food shortage as to create a revolt immediately that will dethrone
Topple
them. Yeah, that's not going to happen. What is happening, however, is that the elite is making sort of new plans how to organize the Dutch economy in the next foreseeable future, right? So maybe in the next 20, 30 to 40 years. And actually, I think they think that the farming that's going on in the Netherlands, and we are the second agricultural producer of the world, is not sustainable anymore. So what they want to do is to reduce it, which is, I don't know, fair enough, fair enough. But what they forget is that that there's still a lot of people that have their livelihood like this, and you can't just ask people to abandon like half their money. That their businesses will go
no,
bankrupt. So this has been done with such a lack of tact and a lack of
lack of consultation.
yeah. And I mean they have this plan of slowly dying this out, and I think this the farmers sense this, and this is also why they get so much support.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
in
it
a
is
way, farmers are sacred, kind of, because they grow the food that the nation lives on, right?
yeah, well, they try to block all these distribution centers as well. They have a lot of support, but what I think is the most peculiar that even the Christian Democratic Party have not been in support of the farmers. So what you see is like people who are sort of in the inner circle of the elites, Christian
Mm.
Democratic Party, the Liberal Party, the Conservative Liberal Party, they all, even though it loses them so many votes, they still sort of maintain that this is the right sort of strategy to go. And it's just really fascinating how this sort of hive mind works of people who are highly educated and think no they know best. Even though I think ultimately this kind of policy making is completely self-destructive because at some point people get so mad you get in a couple of western countries you get a revolution, and it's not going to
Yeah.
be probably like a really violent revolution, but it's going to be a bit like what happened in France, like how it turned into the Fifth Republic. So it's going to be big protests, and then you see like parties that have a bit more of a different, more populist bent, they're going to take over. And I don't know why they don't want to save themselves. It's really interesting to see how they how they just commit like political harikuru.
Mm. It doesn't even make sense for themselves. You know,
No,
yeah,
no,
and it's even more concerning. It's like if they can't even look after their own interests, then obviously they can't be looking after the interests of the country. Hello, Elliot.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're in your car, aren't
absolutely.
you?
Yeah, I'm driving, so this is going to be a brief appearance. But I just wanted to see if I could actually do this, and apparently I can. So yeah, I just tuned in. I got the thumbnail sketch of the Dutch farmer situation. I thought it was pretty staggering. Is that still simmering?
Oh yeah, it is definitely simmering. It's not as pronounced as it was before, because before that they blockaded roads, they set cars on fire, they beat police officers with like metal poles and shit like this, and there was also a boy of 16 shot. So it was actually really intense. But but now it's sort of simmering on the ground, so they're gonna see if there's some kind of political compromise, but I don't see the government moving that much, so yeah, we'll have to see.
Where's the public? Where's the public?
Well, the public is really divided. I would say like if you look at comments on YouTube, I think there's a lot of support of the farmers, but also I mean the farmers are not the only ones getting fucked. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people are getting fucked. And then it's also like, are we gonna like look for I don't know, like for the people in the cities? They have their interests too. Their energy bill is now doubling, and not even doubling, tripling.
Mm.
So I wonder if it's gonna be now like a broad coalition. If there's going to be a broad coalition, yes, the government will fall, and well, I don't know what we'll see next, but it's going to be something totally different. But what I fear is that people are going to look for their own sort of individualistic interests, and that all these coalitions are going to break up. And that means that yeah, the current government, and I would say actually the current regime, because I think you can call it that, is gonna survive once more, because they still have a lot of support. Sort of the whole sort of upper middle class is part of one sort of hive mind in saying like these policies need to be taken.
Mm. When are there scheduled elections, or do elections have to be called?
No, there's scheduled elections, but the government can call it sometimes, but most of the time is because we're a coalition government. So whenever we lose, or the majority parties that have a coalition with each other, whenever they lose a majority, when one party says, okay, I don't want to be supportive of this policy anymore, then the government falls, and then there will be a new round of elections. Yeah.
Mm.
But it seems like the party that is all leading this way, which is the Conservative Liberal Party, they're not losing any votes.
Interesting. Similar things happening here. Gas prices are high, and it's the same sort of woke coalition that's all behind all of this. This green global warming and this anti-Putin sentiment. They don't realize how self-defeating this is, and they're going to suffer in a real way. And they're not going to know what's happened, or they're going to have to sort of confront some of their assumptions come wintertime, it seems.
So whatever happens to the truckers in Canada?
I think the whole COVID thing just kind of disappeared, and that was all turned on the COVID vaccination. And then after Putin went into Ukraine, it's like they just changed the channel and nobody talks about COVID anymore. And
Yeah.
I think that's my perception anyway. I haven't been following it, but you only have the occasional lunatic walking around with a face mask, and just nobody cares. I mean, they just, you can only sustain a hysteria for like a couple of years. I think, people just stopped and don't want to talk about it at all, including myself.
No, I agree with you, but I find it quite surprising, like how far the Canadian government went in order to punish these truckers. So they went after their supporting structures, bank accounts, fundraising efforts. It was creepy as fuck. This guy Trudeau,
Oh yeah,
like
that's for sure. It was creepy, but I think, well, the polling right here in the States for the midterm elections is looking like a blowout for the Republicans. And I think a lot of I think a lot of people are recognizing this and are quietly trying to just tone it all down. But yeah, that was sort of a fever pitch that Trudeau was on. But it seems like they finally, there's been enough pushback in the polls, it seems, that they've just, downshifted completely. They certainly haven't reversed course, but they realize that there's going to be a realignment that's not to their liking.
Yeah, I just really hope the realignment comes. Like my personal preference would be people who are, how would you say, in the left, sort of the non-globalist left and the non-globalist right, would work together. Because I've always been a centrist, and still a centrist on this issue, but I do think there's a really big issue with like government overreach. That's a sort of like neoliberal totalitarianism almost. That's like people going after your bank account, people like really invasive measures to get the agenda through, and the agenda is also, like we just talked about before, also with Claire, it's really self-defeating, because you can't sustain it like this. You can't
Well,
sustain.
I have a theory on this, about how easily the rights of the citizens of the former dominions of Britain are treated. They have no rights, and the British also have no rights with their unwritten constitution, which is not a constitution at all. So basically, the government can do anything they like to the people. Or the legislature can anyway. The parliament can pass any law and repeal any law. That is the doctrine of parliamentary sovereignty.
Yeah, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I mean, like, oh yeah. Maybe we also don't have a perfect. Well, we have a constitution, but actually, de facto, the only thing that the judges don't judge according to our constitution. They judge according to laws that have been made, and the only reason why our constitution is there is to say to Parliament, "Hey, be careful of these laws." So it's a really sort of weak thing to have, but I see it everywhere. Like it doesn't even matter if you're like in France or in Sweden or
Or even in America.
In England, they go after everything. They go after your bank account. There's almost no restraint anymore. And like the people who always said we are liberals, we like all the freedoms, they're really sort of adamant about destroying that if it really is in their sort of interest to do so. I mean, the COVID stuff is also like horrifyingly creepy. How far the government would go to make sure that people would behave. Sorry.
Well, don't they say like before a sort of paradigm collapses, it sort of freaks out and goes into it becomes ultra intense. It goes through a period of it doubles and triples down on itself because it knows that it's sort of disintegrating. So it's sort of a last dash. It's sort of the fanaticism is actually indicative of its weakness, right? You hear this theory? There's a word for this, but I don't recall what it is.
I heard of it, but I hope you're right. I hope it's not like one of the first sort of cries of a much sort of bigger movement that is just, I don't know, growing in force. I also see that like the wokeism, people are like crying, but for some reason these sort of like college students who are mentally ill have completely set the agenda for the United States. It's crazy to think about it.
Right. But what I notice, in my Facebook feed and so forth, all the usual suspects that were always sort of carrying on with one woke cause or another, they've all either blocked me, disowned me, or gone quiet. So I don't see the same fervor that there used to be. I think there's a certain resignation on their part. And I think they kind of know what's coming, and they're sort of, laying low. Like here in San Francisco, the city is like really deteriorating, and a lot of sort of traditional constituents of the left are having a big rethink. They're either leaving the city or changing their votes. Like we just threw out one of these George Soros district attorneys, one of these guys that used to be in the Weather Underground. Do you know what the Weather Underground is?
Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
What is it?
Chesa Bodine. He is the son of his parents were in the Weather Underground, which is a very hardcore leftist group, and they killed a bunch of people in the early 70s. Really far out there radicals. And he got elected as district attorney of San Francisco, and he basically stopped enforcing laws. And the city has taken a giant downturn, and it's impossible to ignore. The amount of property crime is off the charts, and the amount of just overall degradation is just really noticeable. And nobody seems, I think a lot of people are coming to recognize that they've made a mistake. And I just think there's this quiet storm brewing that's going to, I think we're going to get a pretty interesting autumn, shall we say.
Yeah, but for the United States, it's always been sort of very democratic, and people are very sort of involved in the political process. But I think for Europe, a lot of things have to happen. Like most of the time, what elites do, they sort of co-opt problems for a time. They say, yeah, well, we'll accommodate this problem, and then they accommodate enough, and then they go out, they go back to their old ways. So I'm worried about that kind of scenario from happening.
Europe is in a much more precarious situation because you don't have the natural resource base that the United States has. So we could always, if we wanted to, start drilling oil again, right? But we haven't, out of environmental considerations. It's just much more pleasant to think about oil being shipped from elsewhere rather than drilling it here. But if the choice becomes between freezing to death and, posturing about global warming, people are going to choose to, be warm. And, I don't think Europe has that alternative. This whole Russian gas thing needs some resolution, or it's going to be a very difficult winter in Europe, it seems like. Did I lose y'all?
Yeah, he seems to have gone quiet.
Okay. All right. So this is my first mobile. Actually, I streamed mobily once with you, Claire, but
yes, I remember the walk along the beach.
Well, I'm actually driving in traffic, so this is a real full test of my streaming skills.
You sound like you're stuck in traffic.
Where's your boy
You're doing
Sam?
pretty good. You're doing pretty good, Elliot.
Where's your boy Sam? I miss those.
Oh, you want to talk?
You mean you missed the monologues? Claire is just says like yeah, amen, like.
Yeah, but he's got certain like refrains that just keep coming back and get repeated, and then new, embellished upon. But he's really only got like 3 core ideas, but he gets a lot out of them.
He can talk a lot about very little. I think that is quite the achievement. Yeah.
It's highly entertaining,
But I had to say, like, I was talking to Aaron, and he says, I said, like, I can't take Sam. It's just like too much for me. And then, Aaron with his sort of typical sardonic humor is like, yeah, he's like a full Jew. I'm a half Jew. That's the reason why he can take me.
Yeah, I only have a half a dose, but he's a lot like my father. I got to tell you, like, you want to know why I'm the way I am. He reminds me like, creepily like my father. It's really, it's uncanny.
A man of focus and drive and conviction.
Yes, but not always open to re-examine of one's ideas, Yeah. Re-examination of his book.
So who is this Rabbi? Who is this like Messiah that is somewhere? And I don't know. Is he bringing on the end of days, or what's going on with this Messiah?
Well, his name is Nir Ben Artsy, but the thing is, he doesn't speak English, and I think for that reason he can't be the Messiah, because if the Messiah were to arrive, it's like he's got to speak English because he's got to tell of the Anglo-Saxons,
But wouldn't it be kind of strange, like, of all the possible candidates for the Messiah, it just happened to be your rabbi? It's just like, if you look at the odds of the situation, like, how lucky are you? Like, I don't know. Like, I often wonder, like, how is it that I was born in the United States of America? How it's very, I just I calculate the probability of, what it means to having been born in the the great leader of the Western world, and those are pretty slim odds actually. And so I sort of marvel at that. And then to take it a step further, though, I happen to have a personal relationship with the Messiah.
Yeah, but
the numbers.
It is a bit bonkers. I mean, I don't know, like did he show some kind of superpowers, or like how do you get that status of being a Messiah?
I think Sam said it was a form of telepathy. Apparently, his rabbi knew what he was thinking, or I don't know, something like that, or called him at the right time and appeared to know what was on his mind, something like that.
Yeah, man.
It seems like a bit of cold reading to me, like you have all these. You used to have like a lot more of them actually on American TV. Like they got introduced to us at the Dutch as well, and you had all these how do they go, mediums?
Televangelists?
Yeah, no, mediums, Shar, like they had a couple of these mediums, and they could talk to the dead and shit like this. And I don't know, like so many, particular women in their 50s would always fall for this shit, And I'm just surprised that a man of 60 would actually, I don't know, fall for that kind of stuff.
Well, I once drove from Boston to Charlotte, North Carolina, which means you have to drive through Virginia, like the outback of Virginia. And you turn on the radio in Virginia, and it's like a different world altogether. You wouldn't believe what you hear. And like, the music, like there's this one song, this woman singing about how when she gets to heaven, she's going to know Jesus because she'll recognize the holes in his hands from the, crucifixion. And, they're like, they think the end of times is like, within the next week or two. Like they're on the edge of their seat waiting for this. And it's just, you don't know it until you can't really feel it until you really go out into the sticks, and then you really sort of understand the depth of this particular narrative that it has on people.
It's crazy. Wasn't there like this guy who wrote this series? Was it like the Left Behind series that always said that, like the rapture's coming, and like people are gonna be lifted up into heaven, stuff like this, and so many people will just like believed it, and then you set a date for it. Like when is it gonna happen? Is it gonna be like
about 10 years ago, right?
Is it gonna be in 2 years or just something like that? And then when it actually happens,
a firm date, like I think it was 20.
No, you're breaking up, Elliot.
I lost. Yeah, I know. I'm in a little. Wait a sec. I think it was 2011. Were you talking about this particular instance?
Yeah, I think so.
He gave a. Yeah. Well, this has a long tradition in U.S. There's a millennial in like the 40s or 50s or 60s. Farmers didn't plant they thought the rapture was so imminent that they didn't even bother putting in crops for the next year because, one of these prophecies was really widely believed. And out of that, there was this sort of great disappointment, I think it was called. And a lot of these sort of sectarian Protestant groups really multiplied in New England. And so New England was the source of a lot of these do-it-yourself Christian denominations.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's all very weird. It's all very weird.
It's particularly weird when the prophecy hasn't come true and then people still believe. It's like no, maybe it's gonna be next year. It's like fucking hell. But so at least Sam, he believes that his rabbi is the Messiah, and he doesn't believe he himself is the Messiah, which I think we had some people believing here that they were some kind of god or a goddess. How's Jen, by the
I
way?
have a Facebook friend who actually thinks he is a messiah.
Who's that?
Just to let you know. Well, just a New York Jew in a. I think it's some kind of mental institution for Jews or something like
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah,
Tell me
I
more
mean,
about your friend.
you can tell he's in a mental institution, but you can also tell he's quite learned because he speaks Hebrew and talks in a rather rabbinical way, and
Yeah.
then he tells everybody off for not taking him seriously.
Yeah,
Did you get that guy on stream?
I don't think he can. Occasionally I contact him, but there would be the stream, and then I discover I'm the only person watching it. It's that kind of situation.
that's happened with me and Daniel before. Like there'll be one person in the audience. It'll be me.
Yeah.
But
Or it's me and I'm banned from the chat.
Which doesn't say much for me, by the way.
But you get on with Daniel, right? Or you can talk to him.
Yeah,
let's say.
he doesn't. I mean, I'm not welcome in his ethno state, but we get on. Yeah, I don't think there's any animosity towards me, but I had this very strange fascination with this, the ability to stream to nobody.
For such a long time. Yeah, I also like come on, like Daniel, let me at least watch you, because I mean otherwise nobody's watching you, and like I'm not even allowed. Like fucking hell, what are you doing with your time? And then it's always about the hermeneutics of homeostasis and something that is so obscure that nobody would understand what you're saying.
Yeah, part of me is like, there's a certain challenge of me just literally trying to understand what the fuck he's saying. It's like I know the words, I know the meanings of the individual words, but then I just try to combine the words into like a sentence that I can fathom, and I can't do it, and I just keep thinking it's either it must be a shortcoming on my part, because and so I keep coming back to try and redo it. It's like a crossword puzzle or something.
Well, it's much more difficult than that. Like I did some courses on philosophy, but I have to say, like, I mean, I don't know why he makes it so unnecessarily complicated. I don't know if he has something to prove, or for me, it's just, I don't know. It sounds like white noise to me.
Well, I don't know. He's an artist, at the end of the day. I think he's a classically trained painter. And I think, I don't know, I sort of know that mindset, right? He's got a very idealized mind, very aesthetically based way of reasoning, and something that doesn't comport with his, oh, I almost crashed. Sorry. Something doesn't comport with his aesthetics. It just fries his circuits or something. He needs to process it, and I don't know. I don't mean to like diss the guy. It's just that it's just a very curious internet phenomenon.
No, well, I think it's always really interesting to diss people here, and also you get some attention, so maybe they jump on stream. That is how it used to work here. We used to shit on people in the chat, and then they would come on stream.
Right.
But unfortunately, that's not possible anymore. I don't know if you guys know what Jenny and Duvid are up to, but I haven't, heard from them in months. I haven't checked up on them either, but are they still streaming? Are they still doing?
Yeah, they are still streaming. Yeah. But I just happen to know because it came up on my feed, and I look at it, and the length of the stream was 5 hours long.
Are they still talking about quantum mind? Like,
yeah,
personality particle and shit.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what
the hard problem of consciousness.
Oh yeah, the hard problem of consciousness. That's it. I can't believe, like, I mean, I'm sure you're like interested in an idea, and I can actually get that you would dedicate a 5-hour stream to it once, but like fucking every week, and then for 5 hours longer, and also with the same people. I mean, like, that would just bore you to tears. But yeah, Jenny used to have a lot of shit to say about the world, but nowadays she's become a bit of a quietist, I would say.
She censors Duvid. I mean, he tries to talk about things, and she says, "No, you can't talk about it."
No,
I was
really.
appalled. I think he wanted to talk about the shooting when the shootings when it happened, and she wouldn't let him.
Getting
Hold on.
into a fight with somebody on the street. Somebody's honking.
No, I know. I had a complicated left turn to make, and I was trying to. I was trying to listen to you and concentrate on driving. So yeah, you heard that honk, really. Well, yeah, I've cut way back on my streaming content. I don't know. It seems like everything is fractured to the extent that then now all of the streams have become incredibly small because everyone's banned and blocked each other, so that you're left to these fractal audiences that once existed. And I don't know what's going to happen if to bring it all together. We need an earth-shaking event to.
True, but you also have to criticize our Claire here. Like she also deplatforms people.
Oh, really? Who she blocked?
Yeah. Jay Walker. He's been completely deplatformed.
That's for years. That's for years now.
Yeah, but it's also the years that everybody turned so darn fucking sensitive. And I mean, come on, like, what's the deal? If you're bored by somebody, I mean, I'm sure you can let them on the stream. Other people are not bored. I mean, it seems to me like a weak excuse to walk away. And you know what? You can do what you want, Claire, but I just think it's tragic how this scene that used to be so vibrant and interesting has now become monologues of Daniel and you for hours and hours about the same fucking subject. I mean, this is not what we used to be.
Well, I think these terms need to be defined properly. I mean, I can't just be sort of laughing and joking and chatting and whatever like you guys and moaning.
Well, I know, but I mean, you've hosted some of the greatest fights on the internet that have ever existed.
I agree.
Which ones?
Or I remember a particular one with OV, Domingo, Vincent, and there might have been a fourth person on the stream, but it was simply the most hysterical thing that has ever happened.
I don't even remember.
Remember, because OV and Domingo started singing "Take Me Home to Where I Belong." Remember that? This was a couple years ago.
Or something.
Yeah, and remember, you used to host Gandalf, who was unintentionally a great source of comedy.
Yeah, he doesn't even come on anymore. I guess he's got a job. Ralph has got a job. I mean, he can only post the occasional insulting comment in the chat, and that's it now.
Yeah. So, yeah, does Ralph doesn't stream anymore? Well, he hasn't been on your stream channel, but he was good content. I think I found a spot. Look at this. Oh, yes. I just found... Oh, my... This is great. No meter for me today. Okay, I've been driving around looking for a space. 3 blocks. I just parked. Okay, hold on a second. I have to go into land mode now. 1 second. Okay. Parking successful.
So I remember even Patrick Bateman and what is his name? Fucking hell, I forgot his name. Shit.
Norvin?
No, the other guy, the fascist who is not a white nationalist.
Heel turn?
No. Anyway, like Patrick Bateman wanted to set up a streaming service called The Killing Fields. And it was supposed to be sort of a debate show with everybody with different opinions, but it never came off the ground, because everybody's sort of not connecting with each other anymore. I think that's a big problem, and that makes this sort of internet sphere that used to be rather interesting and vibrant, rather boring. Because just I don't know, I get blocked by Norvin all the time. He hates me more than everybody.
Oh,
He
he
rather
hates me.
spends his time with the Jewess called what's her name
Brittany.
Brittany from Politically Provoked than me. And I said, dude, like if you met anybody who looks like a complete like Aryan god, it's me, and I'm not welcome. I mean, it's fascinating. Like, I mean, come on, like, can't we sort of white guys get along?
Well, I noticed there's certain things. There's like certain religious tenets that can't be violated. Once you violate them once, you're excommunicated, right? You can't there's certain pillars that can't be even challenged, not even obliquely. Then they freak out and they don't want to talk to you. They don't engage.
Definitely
They,
true. And it turns out that the whole ideology thing is much more important than how you actually look, because I know Norvin's stream, there's like this Persian guy that's always welcome, and they have Durden, who's like a half Mexican, and you have all these sort of people who are sort of non-white, but I'm not welcome. I'm like the whitest fucking thing that can ever be.
right.
And it's weird. And like if you're consistent with your ideology, at least like invite me. I'm white. Maybe you don't like me, but
Yeah, and
at
if you
least
can
I'm white.
and if you sort of demonstrate an ability to be reasonably competent in your critique, that all the more means you're going to be excommunicated.
Oh yeah, I'm not welcome
They-
anywhere anymore. Like I'm not welcome at Bateman. I'm not welcome I'm like completely deplatformed except for Claire. And
So what about OV and Norvin? Are they on the ins or are they outs? They're always.
OV and Norvin are again on the ins.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah, so like it turns out that for Norvin, this whole situation, I don't know if you know the situation.
I know the vague outlines. He had like an underage friend, and then he got accused of grooming or something. I don't know. I don't know what's true, but I know the vague outlines. That's about it.
No, okay. Well, you can watch it back on Britney's stream. There's a whole sort of like 2-hour drama of that, which is actually quite hilarious. It's actually really hilarious. So Cultured Fog. That's the guy I was talking about earlier as well. The guy who wanted to do his show with Patrick Bateman. So yeah, Cultured Fog. He heard something from me and other people about this contact that OV had with this 13-year-old, and I mean, like I think it's pretty bad, pretty shady, and I asked him multiple times to stop it. Although I think there's no direct sort of contact going on, but I mean it's really inappropriate. So I said to every stop the stuff, and then it turns out that other people find out, and then it was a huge shit show, and he got grilled by some of the AF people, the Groypers. And it wasn't a great showing, I have to say. Like OV really sort of exposed himself and embarrassed himself. But then like everything in the Weaknet circles, like everything is forgiven at some point, as long as you're like part of the group. They let everybody
The group is so small. Like you need a quorum. If you can, they need every single body. So like, because there's so few of them, right?
Yeah,
So
and otherwise they can't talk to each other, because I sometimes, like, particularly in the morning. So like when I go up for and get ready for work. So what I do in the morning is listen to 1 hour of Norvin streams. Because I have time for that, getting up, showering, stuff like this. I'll just let it play. And then it turns out that who's there? Norvin, Marshall. Remember Marshall Lord?
Yeah, I had a debate with Marshall.
Yeah, about nukes. I do remember, yeah. Nukes are not real. Turns out Marshall wrote a book now about the evils of the how the Goyim have been sort of tricked over the centuries. So maybe we should buy the book. It will be like the second or third book that's ever been bought. But yeah,
a real book or
he self-published it. No, I have to give them. I have to give the guy credit. I mean, he managed to self-publish his book, and it's in paperback and everything. I don't remember the name of the book, Yeah, Aaron was asking me if I'm gonna read it. But maybe I should. Maybe I should buy it. It's like one that
I'm sure it's
maybe like the fourth
meticulously.
person.
I'm sure it's meticulously researched and detailed.
Oh yeah, and I wonder if he put like a whole chapter on the nukes in it or not. Which
That's
which
got to be up
which
there
would
with Flat
really
Earth.
go well with Barnes and Nobles, like they really would love to publish that shit. But it turns out like they have these conversations. It's always about the same thing, and then there is this like really retarded Persian there. His name is Mutiny or something like this, and they just go in circles and circles. And the only time it's actually entertaining is when Patrick Bateman or Patrick Seidman comes on stream and just complains about white nationalism, which he's actually really good at complaining about. Actually, I'm actually very happy he's speaking my talking points 2 years later. But I mean, he's catching up,
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the whole scene. It used to have like. It doesn't even have any sort of exotic appeal to me anymore. It used to appeal to me on some sort of weird voyeuristic level, But but the subject matter just is so thin. There's so few topics, and there's never any dissent. There's never any interesting debate, and so I just completely lost interest.
That's true. But what do you think about Britney's arc then? I think it's so strange. Like when Stephen James and me saw Britney, we're watching something that should have happened, I don't know, 4 years ago. It was like she was kept in some kind of cryogenic sleep, and then she woke up, and then she still thought she was in 2016, and she like radicalized and stuff like this. I mean, like, come on, like, I mean, she should be wiser than this, and she know.
I don't know. Okay, like a year ago, that show was kind of on the ascent for a while, and I think Luke even appeared on that show as a guest.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And like, but what was the scandal? I didn't realize there was a scandal.
Well, I mean, there's been plenty of scandals about politically provoked. I mean, first she turned, well, right wing, then she turned Wignat, then she turned Groyper, because, I mean, who's paying her? Well, Nick Fuentes. And now she's like secretly in the chat talking to Norman. So whenever I see sort of in the morning, I see the Wignats talking to each other. You see Britney as well. And I'm like, why are you going to some kind of like really obscure Nazi stream as a Jewish person? And you're just like, I don't know, listening to how you're the source of all evil all day. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a certain fascination that Jews have with anti-Semitism. It sort of, in a strange way, reinforces their identity. I think. Like,
oh yeah, it makes you feel special, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Like people, it's a known thing. Like, there's a perverse attraction like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the other way around as well. I have to say, maybe this is a bit, I don't know, it's a bit personal on Norva's personal life, but like he was really sort of attracted by Britney, not just a little bit, but he would always say she's a very gorgeous woman, but I think it's just a washed up whore, past her prime, right?
I don't know. How old is she? She's under 30 or over
like
30?
40, I think.
No, she's not that old, is she?
She's 40. She looks 40 at least. And by the way, also Britney's child. Where is it? Why is she not taking care of that baby? and now she is on Nick Fuentes' trad conservative stream, letting everybody talk about how terrible the disintegration of the modern family is, while her ex-husband or ex-boyfriend is taking care of her child. I mean, come on, this is you can't even I can't even make this up as a fucking joke if people wouldn't believe it. But
Well, and also
it's
like
real.
the Groiper thing and the amount of homosexuality that's in the Groipers.
Yeah.
It's just jaw dropping.
The cum detector. Like, holy fuck! Have you heard about the cum detector?
Yeah. The PPP and the casino. It's just this endless merry-go-round of drama. It's a strange addiction, but
Yeah, but
I
I
don't.
mean, like it's prime entertainment. I don't know. Like I have to say this: you can't really see this happening on the left so much. I mean, it's not as entertaining. They have some drama, but for some reason, it doesn't get me quite as addicted. You know?
Well, the left really likes. They like what are they? They're herd animals, right? There's comfort in numbers, so they'll do whatever it takes to preserve the herd. Whereas on the right, they'll do whatever it takes to fracture the herd.
Yeah, but there's also much more hypocrisy on the right. I mean, like if you have like this guy who's telling you about being trad and incel, and then he
Yeah.
tells you that he's like into really degenerate shit on the internet, and then he has this friend that goes and gets a girlfriend, and then he's like freaking looking at a black light at all the cum spots. I mean, come on, you can't make this shit up. Like, who on the left would ever do such a thing?
Yeah, well, on the left that wouldn't be an issue, right? Because there's
No,
no,
because I mean,
there's
like
no,
at least
there's
leftists
no,
they're honest about their degeneracy. They say like, okay, like we like to do these things. So what are you gonna do about it?
right. The left has no standards, so there's no taboos.
Well, I think the right has standards that they can't uphold. So maybe you
Yeah.
have to think about the standards, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like if you're constantly exposed as a hypocrite and a degenerate. I mean, like look at all the people in the old right. How many people did we have that have been exposed for not living up to their ideals? Then we had Mike Enoch with his Jewish wife. We
Right.
had Millennial Woes with his gay lifestyle. Then we had all the trad thoughts that turn out to be women that also like to have fun. I mean, at some point it becomes a bit too much, like at some point people are just not going to believe it anymore. And if you just set sort of reasonable standards, like, yeah, okay, yes, everybody makes mistakes and maybe it's better to get married a bit earlier and maybe not have so much casual sex. But if you say instead of like, no, you can't have casual sex at all and it's horrible to do, yeah, of course, then the moment people find out that you had it once, they're going to expose it. And then you're roasted.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. What a ride! I'm walking down the street, looking at pride flags right now. So tell
Yay,
us,
pride!
you gonna get a monkeypox vaccine or what? Just to be on the safe side.
Huh?
You gonna get a monkeypox vaccine?
Oh no, fuck no! No, I'm done with this shit. I did COVID, and I actually was in favor of one lockdown.
Yeah.
But now everybody has a vaccine, and now it's over. And anybody that tells me that I need to do something for another disease for the next 10 years,
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna
give
do
me
it.
the disease. Just give me the disease. I'll take it. I'll take
Yeah,
that chance.
like I'm not mindful. Like I don't actually care about all the vaccines and shit like this. But it's just the way that it stops people's lives, the way
Yeah.
that it's legitimized governments to have like intensive new powers. It's
Yeah.
crazy what kind of precedent this kind of situation has set. So really worried about the fallout because all these things all these powers that have been given temporarily by the government, I'm sure they're gonna try to use it again when the occasion is good for them. If there's some kind of crisis, and they said, oh yeah, we did this in COVID as well. That was also another crisis, and they're gonna do it again. So I think actually at the moment,
I have become really anti-statist. I think
Yeah, well,
government
that's what I think. I think that. Well, that's what I think is true of a lot of people. I think you're going to see a big anti-statist backlash, and I think it's already simmering.
Yeah.
And it's going to be exacerbated by any sort of economic fallout that's going to happen from this energy shortage, which I think it's all going to come to roost in October. Traditionally, that's when the big stock market crashes tend to happen, or in October, after the harvest is in, and you see how much you have, and you either panic, you either have enough for winter, or you don't, and then you go into this panic.
Yeah, but I wonder if they're now like very ill prepared for this kind of shit. Also, for example, people are now willing to pay everything with their credit card and their debit card. And there's even, I think in Denmark, you can't even pay with cash anymore. Well, then you think about a crisis like what happened with the truckers, and that Justin Trudeau is going after your money. And then, you have nowhere to go. So I think for people, it's also on us as just private citizens to maybe just refuse it. Pay with cash. Be free. Don't let yourself be tracked.
Guys, I was just reminded of my trip to China, and they really didn't like being handed cash because they preferred everything to be on credit card. Because if you wanted to pay for anything in cash, they just made this whole palaver counting the money with their money counting machine and stuff. Just so that's just my interjection. That's all I was. That's all I wanted to say.
They're going after cash more and more. Eh? So now they're outlawing in the Netherlands having more than 5,000 euros with you. They might change it to 1,000 or maybe 500. It's scary.
Yeah, I think there is going to be a move towards getting.
It's only one solution, though. Secular
Quranism.
Of course. The funny thing is, I found a coin collection. Like a long story, but this guy had to move back east, so I had a bunch of his crap at my apartment, and he has this huge coin collection. So just for fun, I've been sorting through all the coins, and seeing what's there, just for the hell of it, But it's amazing how what money used to be, It used to be actual silver, and you could handle these coins, and they have like heft to them, and there's a certain feeling of power to them. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and now things don't have any intrinsic power anymore. They're just representations of what is not there, or what we feel is there. It's all mass psychology, like how much we value things.
Yeah, this was always forecasted. Like, there was a movie in the 80s about the cashless society, and then people could be unpersoned by just invalidating their card, and they were basically shit out of luck if that happened,
I have to say, like many of the 80s sort of sci-fi movies, there was once this movie with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. I forgot the name of the movie. But anyway, like Sylvester Stallone, he just wakes up like 40 years later after a cryogenic sleep, and then he comes in this world where he can't smoke, he can't curse, he can't do sort of pretty much anything. And you know what? Like these fucking sci-fi movies are eerily similar to the world that we sort of live in today.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of themes in those movies that are coming true. What was it, Mad Max, the movie of like the post-gasoline, after the world runs out of gas, what world degrades into. So, we may be seeing versions of this, attenuated versions of these movies. Anyway, I got to roll. I'm at my appointment. So,
all right, Elliot. It's been fun talking to you, man. Long time ago. Let's get the Spurgs again together, and let's have a
reunion tour. I agree. All right, Claire. Good to talk to you.
Okay, bye, Elliot. Thanks for dropping by.
All right, you're welcome. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I've got this sort of Russian avatar in but he's not speaking. He might pawn bomb us. So that's why.
But what can we do, Claire? We can't do anything about it.
Are you stupid or something?
Who?
We can't do anything about it.
Stop being a dumbass.
Okay, so it's probably the
No,
guy who is it, like the
dumbass.
Wallenberg guy.
I can't get over.
I should just remove him. I just want.
Wait. Let's hear what he has to say. We can actually respond.
I think it's a recording.
Yeah, I
Damn,
think
boy.
it's like the Wallenberg guy. He
You're a
always
little bit
does this.
stupid.
He always does it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So he has this I don't know, Wallenberg character, and then once he got on stream, I don't know
Yeah, I
what his
remember
sort of entertainment is, and I don't know.
reading long screeds of stuff.
I don't know what kind of emotional satisfaction he gets out of this, but I don't know. To everybody, his thing, I would say.
I guess.
All right. Hey, sweetheart. I think it's also
Mhm.
time for me to go because I have to work tomorrow.
Okay.
But it's been good talking to you.
Yes.
Invite Jay on sometimes. Maybe we can talk. Invite other people out. Maybe we can have some interesting dialogue. I like the conversations when they're like more like 4 or 5 people. It's always better. And also you can take a breather, you know. It's good.
Yeah.
Host some new Spurk shows. That's what I wanted to say. All right, Claire. Have a very good evening, and thank you very much for your time. All right.
Thank you.
Goodbye, Jack. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.